please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. So I'm a bit of a sucker for the path not taken, right? I always love the multiverse thing, although Hollywood, we saw multiverse, it's done. Okay, you did it in Spider-Man. I didn't even get through all of what was that movie, Doctor Strange, which doesn't bode well for the. Okay, this is a complete aside. What's wrong with the MCU? I mean, there's many things wrong with it, but they're not making movies, right? Those initial phase 1, they're actually movies. Now they are widgets for their streaming service, and it really, really shows. I'm so glad I didn't go see the Doctor Strange movie in the theater. I'm really, as I tried watching it on Disney Plus, I fell asleep twice. I'm just bored with it. It's just because it's not a movie, right? Not a movie. So Hollywood, enough of the multiverse. You're not very good at doing it. Okay, you did it once, and I think you're basically done, right? However, if you want to do Elseworlds, I'm all up for that. I would love to see a Gotham by Gaslight movie. That's a complete aside. Okay, let's get back to Doctor Who. As you just seen, I am a bit of a sucker for the road not taken, right? I love multiverse. But last time my live stream, I ended up looking at The Adventures of Luther Arkwright, which is a graphic novel by Brian Tolbert, but also an audio adaptation by Big Finish. Stars David Tennant before he was Doctor Who, and Paul Darrow before he died. It's really good. It's really good. So yeah, I'm into that. So I did a video about the story. I don't know, about a month or so ago when it first surfaced. It started circulating with the release of the new 4K Doctor Who and the Daleks. When's that available on download, by the way? I want to buy that from iTunes or Disney Plus, not Disney Plus, iTunes or Apple or Amazon. iTunes is Apple. Amazon or someone. I keep looking there. It's not there. And I wanted to have the extras as well. I don't want to pay £60, or is it £50 for the super special edition, which says it's beautiful, it looks fantastic. I've got a bunch of these special editions before, and I'm never ever gonna look at the poster or the cards or the coin or the booklet. It's never ever gonna happen. I will watch the content, but I'm not gonna get all the extra month. Maybe I don't want to spend £30 on the bloody Steelbook either. Can I get it on download, please? Right? Anyway, so that's where the story started, when people started talking about Doctor Who movies not made, right? And I love that thing. I love that sort of stuff. So the incredible Matthew Sweet, and I love Matthew Sweet. He does all the interviews on the Doctor Who Blu-rays. This is fantastic. I can't recommend it strongly enough. And it's not like they're perfect stories, right? It's absolutely fantastic. I'm really loving it. So he does the interviews on that. He also fronted the making of on Vengeance and Varys. Maybe he fronted more makings of. I don't know. I'm only up to Vengeance and Varys. That's how good that's it. I've had it for a week and a half. I'm still plowing through it. It's full of stuff. Anyway, this is not a review of that. And you know why I haven't done a review of that? Because it's too big. Nobody said that to me ever. By the way, if you're a young person out there, a young man out there, and you're courting, you're looking for a lady love to be your to be your wife, to take you through this entire life, always try to look for somebody with smaller hands. It just makes things look bigger in them. That's just my advice. Just my advice. I can't say it's bad advice. Anyway, I digress. We're going to get to the point of this video in a minute. Matthew Sweet did a whole article about this missing movie that was going to happen in the 80s, starring Michael Sheard, I think. Michael Sheard, if that's how you pronounce his name. But there's some things he's got a lot more details on it. So this is like catnip. There's no way I could ignore this. And it's in the Telegraph. Telegraph was my parents' paper of choice growing up. I will probably read the Telegraph if I lived in England, but I don't. But there you go. And I really know very little about English news. I look at pop culture stuff mainly, and not even much of that Doctor Who stuff mainly. And then, but if I did read the paper, it'll probably be the Telegraph. This is not an ad for the Telegraph. Fine. Before we get into this video, like, share, subscribe, comment, Substack, all these things. Fantastic. If you woke up this morning and you're thinking, how can I be fantastic? How can I be any more fantastic than I already am? That's a good question. Yeah, it's good. People struggle to be more fantastic than they already are. It's easy, baby. All you got to do is hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button. All those things are great. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you are subscribed, please make sure you're still subscribed. You know, it seems to be a weird thing I have to say, but I have to say it anyway. Like, share, subscribe, comment, sign up my Substack, sign up my page Substack, which at some point will get some content. At some point, who knows? Who knows? I think it will. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Fine. Comments are always good. I personally, the comments are the things for me, because that's how I interact with you the best way. If I post something and I put something on Facebook to promote it, if you want to talk to me, the best way is in the comments on YouTube, right? I look at those every day and I endeavor to reply to all of them. Not the replies, though. I do my best. If you catch me, if I get a reply happening as I'm like doing that, then I will probably reply to your reply. If a reply is not like nice one, Rabbi, the same site that has a replyable reply. Fine. With that gibberish, let's look at this article. In fact, before we look at this article, let's look at this book over here, The Nth Doctor. Love this book, right? This is by Jean-Marc Loffier. He's they're in like the Hollywoody in crowd of the 80s and 90s around there. He was commissioned to do I think more than one of the scripts. I'm really not sure, but he was very much inside. That's why he wrote a book, which is this is a history of unmade Doctor Who movies, but it really concerns from the late 80s onwards, which is slightly after this. So, but they do talk about the pre-80, what's it called again? Pre-1987, right? In the introduction, it's only a page long, so I'll but it's worth putting this whole thing in context. Again, Nth Doctor, don't know idea if it's still in print. It's fantastic. The first time I was approached to discuss the concept of a Doctor Who movie. So yeah, this is by Jean-Marc Loffier, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Was in the first time I was produced to discuss the concept of a Doctor Who movie was in 1981, and I was working on the first draft of what eventually became the Doctor Who program guide. Yeah, he's also a writer. There's a lot of stuff he's done. The series has just made a critical splash in America with the syndication of a package comprising of episodes from Robot to Invasion of Time, featuring odd introductions delivered by American actor Howard Da Silva. Americans freaking love those, okay? That is a nostalgia fest. They absolutely adore those introductions. Sold to a number of independent television stations, PBS mainly. A first dedicated Doctor Who convention had been held in Los Angeles in December 1980. I remember John Nathan Turner going to that, right, or being excited to go to that in the 80s, which Randy and I had attended. So I think. Oh, Jim, I don't know. Randy is the other half, I think. Randy and Mark Loffier. And I attended, and we also arranged for a guest appearance of Terrence Dicks, and through Terrence Dix's good officers, Tom Baker, and then producer Graham Williams. I had also finished working on an article about Doctor Who for the French cinema magazine Le Grand Fantastique. Yeah, so you get, again, he's a bit cliquey in crowd in Hollywood, right? That's basically, I don't know how you get into the cliquey in crowds, but if you do, you can basically print your own paycheck for the rest of your life. What was I going to say? The convention was a massive success, and it had been held on the doorstep of Hollywood took notice. This was also a time when American editions of some of the Target novelizations republished by Pinnacle with a brilliant introduction by Harlan Ellison. Oh, I've read that. That's really awesome. I love Harlan Ellison. He's dead, isn't he? I think he's dead now. He was a great talker, right? If you go find his rants on YouTube, they're fantastic, right? He's really smart and really interesting. Giving the show more visibility. Doctor Who and Tom Baker were therefore in Hollywood lingo hot. So yeah, this is exactly when this movie was being developed that we're going to be talking about. They had come they came out the woodwork soon after that. They being, of course, the wannabe producers who, always looking for a locomotive of which they could hitch their wagon, knew a good thing when they saw one. There were rumours in England of a feature film project, Doctor Who meets Scratchman. So this thing we're going to be talking about is after that and before all the other ones we talked about. Being arranged by Tom Baker and Ian Marter. In America, I was briefly connected by some producers who later released an unsuccessful Lone Ranger remake. Is that the one with Johnny Depp? I like that movie, by the way. That's not a bad movie. Is it a bad movie? I like that movie. I'll go that far. I'm not going to say it's not a bad movie. Man, Arnie Hammer is a weirdo. No wonder his star vanished. Tom Baker left and was replaced by Peter Davis. In Hollywood, the iron was no longer hot, and Doctor Who has started to be considered like yesterday's news. Yet, short-lived attempts continue to surface. There was talk of an animated series to be produced by Nelvana for CBS. Oh, please, Russell T Davies. We want animated Doctor Who, like Doctor Who Infinity, Doctor Who Classic Doctors, beautifully animated. Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be on Doctor Who Plus. I'm so signing up to that streaming service. Michael Chase, produced by then executive Michael Chase Walter, like Doctor Who. Around 1986, Bob Cosberg expressed an interest in the property. Randy and I ended up working briefly with Bob on what eventually became 12 Monkeys. Oh, that's a good movie. I hope it's a movie, not a TV show. The movie was much better than the TV show. But that, as they say, is another story. But in typical Hollywood fashion, nothing ever happened for our favorite Time Lord. It did not matter. It did not matter much anyway, because the show was still on the air after year like clockwork. Then in 1989, a couple of premonitory hiccups, the unthinkable. After a couple of premonitory hiccups, I don't know what a premonitory hiccup, the unthinkable happened. Doctor was cancelled. But to quote Logopoulos, the moment had been prepared for. Right, so this is detailing all the movies after. This is before that, right? So let's see and see what we got to what it's about. This actually has some details about it. The outlandish Doctor Who movie that never was. The long lost script for a film pitting two Time Lords against giant crustaceans has resurfaced. Big Finish, mate, where are you? Who were they cast? I don't know, but Big Finish, mate, where are you? Well, you'd all be great if they, as a young Doctor, they got Ncuti Gatwa. Would that be crazy? I think that's a good idea. Russell T Davies will be like, no, he gets debuted with us. 1986, the lights are low. You just watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, trailer for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and that ad where an old lady drops a pince nez into a carton of butter kissed. I don't remember that. I don't even know what a pince nez is. Should I look it up? No, it's the name of a Sherlock Holmes story. And then the main feature begins. A battered police box makes landfall on a lonely beach. The Doctor strides out. He's a young, unfamiliar incarnation, never seen on television. Though Hugh Grant won't have to wait too long for stardom. Saying it's Hugh Grant. He runs to help a screaming woman and finds her body reduced to bloody pieces. After shock soon comes. Another shock soon comes. A second TARDIS materials. Out stands a dandyish figure with a shock of white hair. You recognise instantly. It's John Pertwee. Really? Okay. I'm kind of amazed. The two Doctors stare at each other. Who are you? They chorus. And the question is its own reply. The greatest Doctor adventure is underway. So after Michael Sherd. I don't know. John Pertwee, by the way, about this time, he spent about a year about to be the Baron Munchausen in the excellent Adventures of Baron Munchausen. The two 1960s Doctor Who feature films have been a rainy bank holiday classic for decades. I really want them the 4K version. They sound awesome. Doctor Who and the Daleks in 1965 and Doctor Who Dalek Invasion of Earth. I gotta get the download version. I don't have a 4K player. I just realised. Yeah, I need the download version. Star Peter Cushing as a variant of the familiar TV character. An eccentric English inventor, surname who builds a time and space machine in his garden. The movies were produced by Milton Subotsky a New York immigrant maybe, who specialized in portmanteau horror pictures such as Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. And they were weird, those ones. I mean, that's really been pushed aside in the age of streaming, hasn't it? The portmanteau movies. I like those. I really did like those. Both films are in cinemas again this summer, gloriously restored. Really? I wouldn't mind seeing that House of Terror. If they had the 4K one playing here in Israel, I'll be like, yeah, we're seeing that. You're not going to get me see Dr. Bloody Strange, but this I'll go for. There's a Thor movie coming out soon. Again, that's another one I have no interest in seeing whatsoever, and I'm going to try and watch it on Disney Plus, but I don't hold out hopes of getting through it. But at a previous screening of the British Film Institute a couple of Sundays ago, something more surprising was revealed. Sergei and Dmitry Sabosky, sons of the late producer, took to stage, wielding a document and even the most informed Doctor Who fan thought were lost forever. The script for the father's unmade third Doctor Who feature. Big Finish, where are you, mate? Where are you? We want this movie. We want this. My father's archives have been in storage for a number of years, explains Sergei Stabotsky. My mother, until recently, had been the main point of contact for inquiries, but no one had thought to ask her about this particular project. He dug out the Doctor Who files and brought them to the BFI. He produced a script bearing the words "Doctor Who's Greatest Adventure." The audience was astonished. So am I. I want this. I mean, they've got John Pertwee in this version of it. Yes. Yeah, there was the Leonard Nimoy version from a few years later. What that was called? Yeah, it talks about it in here. The Crystals of Power, the Return of Varnax, maybe. I think the Crystals of Power. It was basically like very similar to Key to Time, but Tom Baker was in it, right? Tom Baker had a cameo in that. So okay, I mean, as the Doctor. My father's okay, fine, right? Was astonished. In Doctor Who's Greatest Adventure, the Daleks were nowhere to be seen. Instead, a pair of doctors were pitted against a swarm of cow-sized, flesh-eating crabs that emerged from the sea. What crustacean attack reaches? When a crustacean attack reaches the local army base, the doctors offer the help. So there are two doctors all the way through this, right? Because often in these movies you get what's it? Doctor, you get two doctors, but seldom together, right? What was the one? The guy did Event Horizon. He wanted to do one with Lawrence Fishburne as a doctor, who then regenerates into somebody else. Not sure who. That emerged from the sea. The crustacean attack reached a local army base. The crabs invade a farm where the inhabitants fight back with burning bells of straw. This sounds like a real 60s movie, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like a 70s or 80s movie. They tear apart a submarine. They negotiate a minefield by detonating explosives with boulders. The older of the two doctors, a role supposedly intended for John Pertwee or Tom Baker, rides an army truck, blasting the creatures with ultrasonic beams, and the younger one descends into the creature's nest and dispatches the king with a harpoon. Okay, I mean, it sounds like it'd be a bit crap, doesn't it? I don't know. It sounds a bit Dr. Dolittle, and I'm not talking about the Eddie Murphy one. I'm talking about who was in that? It sounds like that. You know, I'm listening to the Sylvester McCoy Big Finish release right now, and they really wanted to put it in season 24. Yeah, the problem with that, I'm trying to imagine it, and it would look awful, right? It would look just horrible. So it's really that didn't work so well for me. The young Doctor Sabisky wanted to cast his own new star, partly because he feared the current incumbent might leave before the film came out. Putting it factually, grumbled his associate producer John Francis. Quite unfactually, in a letter to the BBC, Peter Davison had only lasted a few months. Really? At least he got spelled his name right. Oh no, they spelled his name wrong as well. Peter Davidson. I think the people who did Doctor Who magazine, and famously had the cover. Peter Davidson is the Doctor. We haven't had a Shooty Gutwa is the Doctor cover. I don't think we're going to get one till Gone October. But oh, I want one. I want it in costume. I really want to see. I really want to see what he's going to do with that role. Like the 1960s films, the only lasted a few months. Really, it doing my head in. Like the 1960s film, this script is slightly at odds with the TV series following their president, who is actually the surname of the leading characters. But at least, this is the least of its peculiarities. After the first 15 pages, the document changes font. From this point on, the doctors are mentioned by names that sit oddly on the page. Really? Okay, 1 second. The cover reveals the secret. Doctor's greatest adventure is credited to Edward and Valerie Abram, the married team who wrote Sabisky's final portmanteau horror, The Monster Club. But the Abrams were not hired to write a Doctor Who movie. Okay, so what's going on with that? The Time Lords are Subotsky's later addition to a project that started and ended in the 1970s. An adaptation of the lurid pulp horror novel that notoriously became notorious in school playgrounds in Britain. Guy N. Smith's Night of Crabs. Yes, I remember the cover for this, right? I remember my dad reading it, my mum reading it. Yeah, I remember that, right. Smith was monstrously... Who's Smith? Smith was a monstrously productive writer back then. Are we talking about the... Oh, and the guy who wrote this book, Night of Crabs. He was a monstrously productive paperback writer who novelized Disney movies, produced reams of soft porn. Really? Okay, the Sexually Secret of Swinging Wives, Sexy Confessions of Gym Mistresses, etc. Why would gym mistresses have sexy confessions, right? It seems to be kind of a very sweaty job. I guess that's why. Okay, this is a complete aside. Why are nurses sexy? And how did that happen, right? A nurse is the most disgusting job. And look, God bless anybody willing to do it. It's the most disgusting job I could possibly imagine. It's dealing with, bodily fluids, and not the fun kind, right? Not the fun. Dealing with lots and lots of bodily fluids a lot, right? And then cleaning things out. It seems not sexy at all, but we've decided that's a sexy profession. Okay, whatever. And respectable non-fiction country pursuits, most notably Moles and Their Control, 1980s. His series of crab books did for crustaceans what James Herbert did for rats. Oh, man. I remember the rats book. I remember my mum and my dad both reading the rats book. The rats have found their lair. I remember that. His series of crab books, rats, they were read for the gore. His one leg was a bloody stump from which scarlet fluid pumped, glowing like the best vintage claret in the moonlight. But they were also read for sex. Well, he knows what he's doing with the soft porn. Sexy Secret of Swinging Wives and Confessions of Gym Miss. Why would they confess? Right? That one really intrigues me. Why? I confess I had sex once. That doesn't sound very sexy. Most people have, right? Most people have. Crab Moon, 1984, begins with a woman leaving her kids sleeping in a holiday camp chalet for an assignation in the dunes with a lover called Keith. The quivering length of his solid male flesh took her breath away. I say. Well, this is a bit of a strange thing to be turned into a Doctor Who movie, but okay. The quivering flesh. Is it quivering? Did you say? Or was it? Quivering length of solid male flesh. Quivering length of solid male. Okay. By the way, may I say, if you're ever on a date, never, ever, ever use the expression quivering length of solid male flesh. My quivering length of solid male flesh is a bit quivering. That's not sexy, right? That's not fun. That's not funny. Okay. We're told before the crabs have a seaside snack. This is one of my favourite articles of all time. Okay, this has really got pushed over the edge to one of the greatest articles of all time. Zabosky bought the rights in 1977, retitled it King Crab, and attracted director Michael Anderson, Oscar nominated for Around the World in 80 Days, the 1956 version. The animation sculptor Alan Frischwell was then a teenage art student, was employed to bring the monsters to life. I got some crabs from the fishmonger and started experimenting, he recalled. I put bits of amateurs into their shells to work out the logistics of their joints. I'm assuming they were dead at the time, right? And the plan, he remembers, was to mix stop motion models with larger scale props and real footage of crowd. So essentially, it's like one of the, what's that cowboy movie where they got like the iguana that's like that's like stalking the cowboys? What is the name of that one? Oh, any one of those movies, right? Again, it feels very Dr. Dolittle, and the 1950s Dr. Dolittle. Where was it? The plan, real cuz we'd have needed them to to keep them cool though, because they'd have just gone to sleep under the light. So okay, a bit of Roy Castle. She's still alive. I don't know. See, okay, Big Finish. You want another fun thing? Do a team up between Bernard Cribbins and Roy Castle, right? The two. I was going to say Ben, not Ben. Ian, the two Ian substitutes. The experiment ended up with Subotsky suffering a much bigger reversal. When Subotsky suffered a much bigger reversal, the collapse of Thongor, the first project of a series of fantasy epics. Okay, his special effects team broke up, recycling King Crab into Doctor Who was one of the many unrealized projects on which he toiled before his unexpected death in June 1991. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. It was pragmatic work. The protagonists of King Crab were a pair of romantically involved marine biologists, Cliff and Pat. Okay, I'm just trying to think. Oh, they were gay. All right, no, it's probably was it Patricia? Right, this was the 80s. Subotsky allocated Cliff's lines to a younger Doctor and Pat to the older incarnation. So Subotsky has a one-word explanation for the technique: Tipex. Meanwhile, Guy N. Smith was never told that his creation had been offered an appointment with the Time Lord, and this was perhaps is the strongest reason to mourn the failure of the film. It was quite eccentric, says his daughter Tara Paulson. Sometimes I would stay home, and he'd say, "Watch out! The North Koreans are coming up the common." And Mum would roll her eyes, and I would realize that it was the story he was working on. He lived through these stories. His heroes were Sherlock Holmes, Dick Barton, Doctor Who. He never really grew out of these things. Oh, it's a shame. Man, wouldn't you like to see his like joy and a Doctor Who movie that he wrote? I think he would have liked that. She has proof of the family snapshot. Her father in a fedora and poncho posing outside the full-size police box he acquired for his front garden. It had a working blue light on top, she recalls. We live on a mountain. Even on the summer, you get gales. So it began to rot. So with great reluctance, we had to dismantle it. The lamp, though, is still in the possession. Smith died in December 2020 from COVID-related complications. Oh, very sad. We could grant him one trip to his... if we could grant one trip in his own TARDIS, it would surely be the coordinates for the British Film Institute Earth 2022. No, go to a different dimension where you can actually see the movie, right? I just love this history of movies. So I want to look up this other article where it talks about all the movies that never happened, right? Because again, it's a fun little subject, isn't it? I'm enjoying it, right? I'm enjoying this fun little subject. The unmade Doctor Who movies are now lost in time. So a lot of big names in Hollywood were attached to various projects. It's frozen. There you go. So surprisingly, given the popularity of long-running sci-fi show, a blockbuster Hollywood movie feature of our favorite Time Lord never materialized. And again, I would love one I would like to see most was the Leonard Nimoy directing one. Piers Bronson as a doctor, and they had he was another doctor as well. I can't remember, But I think they only put that scene in because they needed to start filming, right? Otherwise they'll lose the rights. So they figured, we'll film something with another Doctor and have him regenerate into Pierce Bronson at some point. It's hard to fathom, especially considering the many Star Trek movies. Well, they got one made, and it was successful enough to make another, which was much more successful, and that's why Star Trek's still alive, essentially, right? If that first movie, and that movie was made because of Star Wars, right? This isn't just, but time and time again, Doctor Who fans have been left wanting. This isn't to say there haven't been cinematic incarnations of the Doctor, as the British company Amicus, blah, 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 2 Doctors. There was also a television movie in the 90s that failed to kick off a Doctor Who series in the US. That is true. While there have been a lack of Doctor Who adventures on the big screen, it isn't for want of trying. As you can see below, there's a number of attempts to bring the Doctor to the cinema. Sadly, they are now all lost to time. So it's Peter Cushing. This is the first one. Well, could have starred in a third movie, but I went over this the last time I did a video about this, which was about a month ago, and explained why they didn't make the third movie. As mentioned, there were 2 Doctor Who movies made in the 60s, Doctor Who and the Daleks, and the semi-successful attempt to reimagine Doctor's small screen adventures on the big screen. Semi-successful? I think it was totally successful, right? And this was followed by Daleks Invasion of Earth 2150. Sadly, the latter movie was a box office disappointment. Yeah, that's why we didn't get the third one. So Amicus decided to scrap plans for a third Doctor Who movie, which would have been based on the Chase, the third Doctor Who serial to feature the Daleks, and Peter Cushing would have returned as a Doctor. Little else is known about the project, though, although fans of the classic era of the series may already know the plot of the vintage serial. Yes, would we have got Peter Purvis as a was it a Texan tourist at the top of the Empire State Building in the movie version? I do not know. Tom Baker was all set to make Doctor Who meet the Scratch Man. And they put Jodie Whittaker into the book of that. Not really that interested, quite frankly. In the mid-1970s, former Doctor Who companion Ian Martin, who played Harry Sullivan, had the idea for had a story idea for the series. It would have featured Scratchman, a thinly veiled version of the Devil, alongside Cyberman and a horde of living, breathing scarecrows. Also a giant pinball table, like a pinball machine, where they ended up on. The BBC didn't like the idea. Oh, it says it. Bizarrely, the Master's story also featured a climactic battle on a giant pinball machine. Well, listen, Tommy was huge then, right? That deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Yeah, that was huge. Pinball was huge. The BBC didn't like the idea, but undeterred, Martin went along with the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, set out to make a movie instead. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Like a wet, bank holiday weekend movie. Unfortunately, the movie never came to fruition. This was largely down to a funding issue. Thankfully, the script to the lost movie was discovered in 2006 and turned into a novel, so fans can imagine it for themselves what the movie would have looked like. So this is something I forgot about, right? This was after that Pertwee movie we just talked about, the King Crabs. I mean, really, did it have a quivering man flesh in it? I know. I think that's my bottom line now for every movie. I want quivering man flesh, right? Or was it? Okay, I got to go back and read that line. Who was it? What was it? The quivering length of solid male flesh. Doctor, my quivering length of solid male flesh is a bit itchy. Well, here's some powder and don't touch it again. Michael Jackson almost moonwalked into the lead role. I can vaguely remember this. Vaguely remember this. It was sparkly memories. In 1989, a year after Doctor was taken to the small screen for a 15-year hiatus, Paramount Pictures had plans for a Doctor movie. Michael Jackson was quite keen to take on the role, which isn't as surprising as it sounds, as he had just started another movie, Moonwalker. He also did a thing for Disney called Captain EO, which had the H.R. Geiger did the design work on it. I don't think he would have been very good, would you? No, I don't think he would have been very good as a Doctor. The studio's second choice was disgraced actor Bill Cosby. Really? Well, he wasn't disgraced at the time, right? Yeah, this one I do vaguely recall. For undisclosed reason, neither he nor Jackson was given a chance to walk over the to take over the keys of the TARDIS. Thank God. Thank God. Tim Curry was nearly the last of the Time Lords. Now again, I remember this one as well. I think this was a bit earlier. Tim Curry, already well known for his roles in the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the board game spin-off Clue. I love Tim Curry, right? Whenever Tim Curry's on screen, the screen just lights up, right? Tim Curry is just full of charisma, right? It doesn't matter what movies he's in. He's always got this, like, what was it? How did Tom Baker describe John Pertwee? He's like a tall light bulb, glitters, right? It's got that quality. Where are we up to? Ball game Clue. And was just one of the famous names considered for the Doctor. After acquiring the rights for the character, production company Deltronians wanted to pit the Doctor against an evil Time Lord. It was basically the Master, right? They called him the Mandrake in one of the scripts, right? Or the Varnax, I think he came in the Johnny Byrne script. The movie was called Last of the Time Lords, unrelated to the 2007 episode of the same name. The project stalled due to financial backing. Another company, Lumiere Predictors, stepped in to save the day, although they wanted Alan Rickman to take on the role of the Time Lord. That doesn't sound like good casting. I mean, I can see Alan Rickman's Master. Alan Rickman's Doctor? Not so much. The movie never came to pass, however, and the movie rights, the character reverted back to the BBC. Yeah, and that's when the Steven Spielberg, Philip Seagal, that's basically when the Philip Seagal, Paul McGann movie started to percolate. But I remember this as well. Harry Potter director David Yates almost matched up a Doctor Who movie back in 2011. Yes, this was in the Matt Smith years, right? Yeah. David Yates was supposedly in line to direct a big budget Doctor Who movie. Talking to Variety, the director said, "We're looking at writers now." What about Moffat? I mean, he wrote the Tintin movie. We're looking at writers now. We're going to spend 2 or 3 years to get it right. It needs to be quite a radical transformation into a bigger arena. The movie would have been made around Matt Smith's time of Matt Smith's incarnation of Doctor, but as it was set to be a fresh take, it can be assumed another actor would have taken the role. That really would have been a bad idea, right? Because it was huge then. Doctor was absolutely huge then, and introducing somebody else. I mean, Matt Smith really could have done it as well. Right, Matt Smith. He's got so much screen presence. But as it set to take a fresh take on time, like me sure another actor would take the role. The movie never happened, of course, and the series showrunner Stephen Moffat is to believe there were no real plans for it to happen anyway. Moffat's assertions seem strange considering what Yates has said about the project, or maybe they were told different things. I mean, Hollywood is full of people who lie all the freaking time, right? I mean, like this. If you ever what's the making of documentary? Vegetable Morkhausen. Second time I talked about it in this this video, and the making of there you have who's it? Eric Idle. One of the Pythons, I think it was Eric Idle, and actually a few of them actually talking about Hollywood, saying, yeah, Hollywood, they just lie out them. They just lie to your face completely all the time. Like, all the time. And they all look at each other like, it's so weird, but they do. I completely believe that. Moffat's assertion seems strange to the Yates said about the project himself, but perhaps a weird time anomaly occurred, and he and Yates ended up in alternate realities. Will we ever see a Doctor Who movie? That's a good question. That's good. I'm thinking probably not, right? Probably, and schmuck that I am, the minute this comes out, Rusty Davies will announce a Doctor Who theatrical movie, right? I mean, exactly the same millisecond, right? I mean, who knows what he's planning? I'm just excited, right? There are no current plans, as far as we know, for a Doctor Who movie, but that isn't to say one will never happen. We don't have the keys to the TARDIS ourselves. I mean, listen, right now, it's really in the doldrums, right? I think it's going to be a hot property. I think it's going to be extremely hot property from next year. Look, here's why I think it's going to be an extremely hot property for next year. My daughter watched Doctor Who with me when she was little. She loved Rose, right? She was a little blondie. She loved Rose, right? And she grew out of it. I never grew out, but she loved watching it. It was a very, special family time, right? It really was. watching Doctor Who again. So it has a special place in her heart. But she just grew out of it, right? But now she's in her early 20s. She watches Sex Education, right? She sees Shooting Gatwa, right? And that whole generation of people are going to give it a try. As long as it's good. As long as it delivers something to them, right? As long as it's good, it's going to retain that audience. I don't know how they're going to deliver it. Probably TikTok or something, right? And the same is true with Yasmin Finney. A lot about this, from what we've seen so far, about this new era that Rusty Davis is doing, is an incredibly clever use of social media to market it. I mean, Yasmin Finney having, 12 million TikTok followers, that's really going to help, right? That's really, really going to bring a lot of people in. I think we're probably looking at what could be the most successful period of Doctor Who. If you weren't around in 2005, right, when it came back, Doctor Who was in its doldrums. It was like an embarrassing show, and then it came back, and it was huge, and everybody loved it, and it was weird, right? And then the next 10, 15 years was incredible, right? And 10 years was absolutely incredible. Like, it was a fantasy of Doctor Who fans, right? An absolute fantasy for Doctor Who fans. But I think we're gonna experience that again, right? But to a much bigger degree, right? I really do. Especially where the world's going to be by 2018, like we're 2023. Right now, we're heading into literally a recession. They're saying super recession. Saying something like 60 times worse than 2007, right? That sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot. There's going to be food shortages, fuel shortages, power shortages. We're heading to a really rough time. I don't know how long it's going to last. I hope not long. Hopefully maybe a year, maybe less. But I think by the time it's going to start next month or so. But I think by the time we get to November 23, we're going to be like coming out of that, right? And people are going to just want to have fun. People are just going to want to laugh. People are just going to want to smile, right? People are not going to want to... I think that the whole era of, people screaming, about their ideological views and council, I think it's all going to be gone. I think that's really... This next year is just going to burn out. But then we're going to be in a mood for a laugh, right? If a good comparison is the comedian Steve Martin, right? Steve Martin became huge in the 70s, and they made it into a movie career in the 80s and 90s, huge beyond huge. Now, how did he do that? Because he was around in the 60s, and he saw everything was very political. Things that everything had a political bent and ideological bent. And he says, you know what? I think the next thing people want is just to have fun, just be a bit silly. And he became very, very, very like one of the most successful creators in the world. Right? He did extremely well out of that. I think that's what we're on the precipice for. So with insane popularity that eclipses everything else. Everything really is on the wane right now. Like MCU, I talked about earlier, completely on the wane. Star Wars on the wane. Like all the fun stuff is over, right? I think this is going to be fun. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. And I think it's going to be mega, mega huge. So maybe we will see a Doctor Who movie in 2026, right? Maybe we will. I have no idea. I have no idea what the future holds. I'm quite excited about it, though. Even though, as I said, we got the falls from the apocalypse settling up right now. War, famine, pestilence, and disease. They are legitimately things in the world. They're saying that Germany is going to go on a spiral in a couple of weeks because they don't have Russian gas anymore. I don't know, but I think by the time we get to November 23, we're all going to be in the mood for a laugh. We're all going to be in the mood just to let our hair down and have a good time, which I hope is what that Doctor Who's going to be, right? It's got Meet the Beep in it and the Rave Warriors. How boring can it be? I do think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to find out. My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell. Ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.